Hello, folks. It's Timothy here with Jank Diver Gaming. Welcome back to the YouTube channel. I am here with Teld, a podcast partner, co-creator of the Jank Diver Gaming mainline cube, or I guess not co-creator, but what do we call ourselves? Cube
Co-conspirator,
designers?
Shadow Council.
There we
We
go,
have
the
many
Shadow
names.
Council, yeah. So we've been trying to kind of get something going recently where we review draft logs, we review drafts from individual players, we review some of the matches and stuff like that. And this is going to be kind of a preliminary nod towards trying to do that. So Teld has graciously recorded one of his recent drafts of the Jank Diver Gaming Peasant Cube, and I guess there was an audio hiccup or something on your own personal recording, so we're actually going to use that as a jumping off point to try this out. So Teld, we'll be reviewing one of your Peasant Cube videos from what was this, within the last week or two, so it's pretty up to date. And
Yeah, it wasn't this last weekend, but it was about a week ago. Yeah.
sure. So to the listener, that's like pre Edge of Eternities, post Final Fantasy, with a couple, shakeups here and there after Final Fantasy release. So that's kind of the timeline you're looking at. And we're going to go ahead and walk through a draft here conducted by Teld. And Teld, normally when we do this, I think the commentators are going to be different from the person who actually drafted, but this is actually one of your drafts. So you'll give us a lot of insight into like what you were taking here and some overall thoughts about, where you're at with the Peasant Cube and stuff. Cause you honestly drafted like a significant amount more than I actually get to these days. So I guess shout out to the other people. I don't know a lot of these people, but we got a Bingu up here. We got Chicken up here. Looks like we got Nomad, Patrick, Old Rod Enthusiasts. I believe that's a newer member. A couple others here I don't necessarily recognize, but hello to all those people as well if you were part of this pod. And I hope Teld absolutely crushed you. But
I ended up 2-1ing in this one, but it's there was the round 3 for the finals was an epic match. All 3 matches were really good, but this was one of those ones that of course I wanted to 3-0 with this particular deck, but the matches were really good. And honestly, these days in Cube, that's just really what I'm looking forward to, is when you get just consistently pretty good matches of Magic.
Yeah, I love a good 2-1 when you still play a good finals match, even if you lose or not. It feels good. Teld's also down here. This is not current Teld. This is a pre-recorded Teld, so this is not who you're listening to right now. And I do want to remind everybody before I start this draft off that Jank Diver Gaming community, the Discord channel, you can find links down below wherever you're watching this, and come join the Discord server. It's completely free, and you can come get in on these drafts yourself. We draft the Peasant Cube on Saturdays, and impromptu events sometimes fire off as well, and we have plenty of other drafts and stuff that are completely free in the Jank Diver Gaming Discord. So come join us there, and be happy to have you. We're actually just under 10 people away from hitting 1,000 members in that Discord, which very proud of. But
so this is not current me, though. Current me is still desperately in need of a haircut.
Current you will be down there saying something, but we'll never know what it is. So I will be the kind of draft master here. I'll pause at certain points to kind of get some elaboration, since we won't be hearing from actual Teld. But there's your mouse moving now. Okay, here's my mouse. Let me get that thing out of the way.
And then this is the first time we've tried this, so I'm sure people will explain to us better ways to do this, or we'll figure out some cleaner ways to do this, because we're kind of just recording over a recording. So.
Yeah, in fact, I'm trying to get rid of the stupid Windows player. So I guess the very first pack, I'm not going to do this for every single pack, but pack 1, pick 1 is an important one to stop on, right? So my perspective as somebody who's not in this draft, I see single green card, single blue card, and a million black cards and red cards. So I'm automatically just on like, let me find a red or black card and I'll wheel something from this pack.
Sure. So I actually end up grabbing a red card out of this pack. I kind of go through the same process that you're talking about. I don't consider the blue card powerful enough to take. Fabloom Trick is a good utility support, piece for your deck, but it's not really a pull. I do think Spinewood, Armadillo, and Rise of the Ants are both really good, but they also cost 6 mana, which is, replaceable, even if it is very good. I believe, and it's been a minute, I don't remember if I hover over them, but I believe I narrow this pack down to Thoughtstalker Warlock and Darcy, I think, are the two that I'm kind of debating between. And I once again kind of default to early in a draft take the cheaper cards, because they'll always make your deck, like Thoughtstalker Warlock or Dragon Rage Channeler would. But I really like the the sort of deck control that a card like Dragon Rage Channeler gets you. With the deck I end up with, which I think was pretty cool, it isn't a blue-red spells deck, but Darcy was still just incredible in it. So I'm pretty happy with my first pick here with the way the deck works out.
Right, and the other two red cards, Highway Robbery, Sokenzen Smelter, like with first pick Darcy, are you like hoping to wheel one of those red cards, or you just not care about the other red cards there?
I'm always hoping to wheel Sokenzen Smelter because I'm kind of hooked on these white artifact decks, as you'll see as we draft. But I'm not super.
Yeah, just instantly go for the Mishra's Bauble. Great follow up to Dragon's Rage Channeler. I mean,
yeah. So that was kind of my thought here. There was obviously a Norn's Inquisitor here. Eddie Merc Crab goes really well with Darcy as well. I think Shepherd of the Clouds
is a top 5 card in the Peasant Cube right now.
Yeah, I see 3 good white cards in this pack. Like, I think all 3 of these are cards I would generally be happy to take. But Mishra's Bauble is my beloved, and it goes super well with Darcy on multiple levels. And I stick by my guns that you should draft Mishra's Bauble incredibly highly. I praise it all the time. And I didn't feel like it was going to be now that I started. This might be the highest I've ever picked a Bauble, though. But honestly, I think, like, I'm working on in the background some like a TED talk about Mishra's Bauble, but basically my logic is it makes your deck 100% of the time, and it always makes your deck better, and so you should take it appropriately.
Yeah, I think if that were a pack one, pick one, I'd lean on Eddie Merc Crab there, but Bauble is kind of like the key Dragon's Rage Channeler card, not just because it's like a free surveil trigger, but just gives you a free artifact in the graveyard to get to Delirium like almost immediately too. So okay, so here Sharpshooter is the only red card in the pack, but you got some bangers in other colors.
So this pack is crazy good. I was very excited about it and was just trying to figure out what I wanted to do. I do eventually settle on Builder's Talent because I kind of have a thing for the white game object decks at the moment. But honestly, you could point to about 5 different cards in this pack, and if you told me that's the card you would take, I wouldn't fault you.
Yeah, like if you're still on like, is it's the best thing to do? Swallowed by Leviathan looks great. Under the Skin would maybe be my pick here because I like the Delirium style red-green decks. And then obviously if you take Builder's Talent here, you're just like, okay, let me get that Sokenzen Smelter back, right? That's what I'm doing. And I'm gonna guess that's where this goes. that's my guess. Sharpshooter as the only red card in the pack doesn't feel like it pairs that well with Channeler. Despite I do think Sharpshooter is an excellent card, but.
I agree. The Sharpshooter is an excellent card, but I do decide on this Builder's Talent. My logic is that the cards that would enable Builder's Talent probably would also trigger Darcy some percentage of the time. And then I immediately get rewarded for my decision by getting Builder's Talent's best friend, Clayfired Bricks. And, this is just kind of the easiest pick of my life. I think I point out there's an Obliterating Bolt in this pack, but I'm never taking it over Clayfired Bricks.
Yeah, you don't want that borderless Torgal. That's borderless for some reason. It is a fine hound, and you have it. Oh, Dragon's Rage Channeler is a human. So yeah, you are 100% down the red white, or at least like white. Yeah, okay. You just moved the Channeler over too. I was just thinking myself, like you're definitely doing white game objects or whatever, white artifacts. And at that point, I'd be like, maybe Darcy doesn't make this deck, but I've seen the final list. I know it comes back in at some point here, but you're now looking at Oliphant, Synthesizer, Crowbar, Red White Land, Mandibular Kite, Rally the Monastery. Great card, but probably below the rest given the other picks you have. So I mean, what's the thought process here? I see you've highlighted the Crowbar. I don't know if that's the pick or not.
It is the card I go with. Rally at the Monastery is a card I haven't personally had a lot of experience with. I know one of our better players and better drafters, Flutter, is super high on that card. So it's one that I would like to get some more experience with, but I don't necessarily think it goes with the cards that I'm currently on. I think it is more of like an aggressive card. I do see that there's a red white land in this pack, and like maybe I could do that to play the Darcy, but I think my first goal is just locking in white, and I feel like Crowbar is just so good, and people always complain about losing to insert artifact or enchantment here and don't draft the artifact enchantment removal. So I'm going to take a page out of Danilis's book and draft this card super highly.
Oh man, is this about to be a Glimmerlight?
I don't actually think I take Glimmerlight here. Maybe I do, but I don't think I do.
Yeah, there's bonus points for taking that Crowbar away from other people too, knowing that you have the talent and stuff. So
yes,
yeah, Shepherd's a good card for sure. Area Auxiliary is on the same power level of Shepherd, but you definitely are leaning towards the 2-for-1s rather than the pure aggro here with auxiliary.
Yeah. And one of the things that I really like about this particular shell is that you're not an aggro deck, but you're also able to have these very powerful, like kind of aggressive draws. So you can still pressure people's life totals. I think that's one of the things that I don't like about drafting really, really slow decks is when you're in matchups where your opponent has cards you can't really beat, you don't have options to actually, kill them. And these decks are very good at pivoting. I do debate between Glimmerlight and Shepherd for a minute there, though.
Mm-hmm. Oh, easy delivery Moogle now. Wow, just two premium cards to pick up with. I didn't even get to look at the rest of that pack. And then here, so I was gonna ask, so you're staring at a pack with no red cards, no white cards, really. Maybe push pull ends up being the pick. I know you're a big fan of Fear of Isolation and of course Skyfishers, but are you considering inroads into just blue white artifacts, or are you just I don't care about that color pair, I'm just going to continue taking white stuff?
So I start on highlighting the fear. I do have a strong preference for that card. I think it's really powerful, and I think it's usually quite good. I think it would be fine here. That being said, I know Carbon is a huge fan of push pull, and I actually use that as my tiebreaker. And also the fact that push will make my deck regardless of what I end up in. Black and white are the two most common pairs, I think, with this artifact game object deck. Even though blue is the quote unquote seeded artifact deck, I think the Mardu Spectrum is where you want to be with it. And I also remember I have this Darcy sitting in the board, and so I end up going with push pull as a late game option that I know I'll play as a removal spell if nothing else.
Mm-hmm. So Kenzan Smelter did not wheel.
Oh, okay. Maybe it was this last week. I drafted Boros twice in a row with the very similar deck. I guess it was this week's I had Kenzan Smelter.
Okay, so I had in my mind the most recent deck that you posted, so I actually don't know too much about where this draft goes from here, because it does look very similar to the other red-white deck. So yeah, so Kenzan Smelter does not wheel. This pack had 1 million black cards in it, so it's not surprising to see some of these black cards. They're not premium black cards or anything.
Yeah, I think I go with Sever the Bloodline because it's just the most generically playable card here.
Mm-hmm. That card.
Maybe I go with Fang. It's either or Fang.
Okay, did go with Fang here, and yeah, you're a Norn's Inquisitor lover. Plus, does make an artifact. Eddie
there's no reason this
is ridiculous.
Yeah, Eddie Crab and Norn's Inquisitor really should not be here. The Norn's Inquisitor is a premier white card, and Eddie Crab is might be the best blue card in the cube.
And then we're getting down to look at that blue black. Look at that blue black sealed pool right there.
Yeah, I'm not 100% sure here. I think I go with the Mindless Conscription to pair with a potential Skyfisher or a card draw pickup, but I could be sold that I should have just taken Crumb and get it as a way to protect cards in removal heavy matchups.
Mm-hmm. I would not be getting a clear idea of what's open up until I think this pack. So I don't know if the rest of the pack is just blue-black presents itself or whatever, but that's pretty telltale pack right there. Halo Forger, Mouth of Sauron. Then a free Stump Stomp, I'm assuming. Or maybe you take the Silver Bluff Bridge here, just an artifact. Or I
think I go with the counterspell.
Okay. As first blue card.
Yeah, we just saw a couple of blue-black cards. I think I was just hedging here because the Stump Stomp's fine, but the white creature decks, if you don't have Builder's Talent in play, a lot of times they're not using it the best. Usually 2 or 3 power is enough to kill stuff, but I just, I just wanted to grab that just in case blue ends up being where we end up. And I actually am pretty excited about this synth. Can we pause for just a second?
Yep.
So Oliphant there, I do want to mention, because in the mainline cube, I would have considered that a easy Oliphant. I mean, obviously synth isn't in the mainline cube, but I would consider a late land cycler to be a huge signal. But I've pointed out before that they are worse in Peasant. They're not we're ever going to cut them worse, but I do think they are a good bit worse in Peasant than they are in the mainline cube. And I would rather have a good card for my deck than a land cycler that isn't named Lorien revealed in most cases.
Yeah, we are on one cycle of lands with types on them. I think the Dominaria cycle, and we're not playing the snow cycle from Kaldheim, just because the snow cycle is worse than whatever our next best cycle of dual lands is, and I don't want to make 10 dual lands worse to make 5 land cyclers better. That just has never really made sense to me, so I just acknowledge that the LTR land cyclers are worse here than they are in most other cubes.
Yeah, they're still good, and if you can get one in your deck for free, you should absolutely play it, and you'll get to play 16 lands. I consider them around the power level of any other MDFC.
Yeah. Okay, so here We got.
I'll give you one guess at what I take.
There's 2 Thraben inspectors.
Do you want to guess if I take novice inspector or Thraben inspector?
Are you more soldiers or detectives? Soldiers or detectives? I'm gonna guess novice inspector, but what else is going on here? I mean, another pretty decent pack. There's a Chupacabra floating around. If you really care about the artifact stuff, you probably are just on one of the inspectors. I would hope to wheel like Stonehaven Pilgrim or Out Cold if those are the cards that I like want in the deck here. And then this is not as spicy of a pack as the first one was, but there's some.
No, I think the inspector here are the only choices that really crossed my mind. I think with these game object decks, you want to have a very low curve. You want to have a lot of cards that have ETB artifact effects. These let you make it more likely that you're able to play a Clarion Spirit. They work well with the Skyfishers you're looking for. They work well with Synthesizer as a cheap card. You can hit off of it, et cetera, et cetera. So like, I think this was a pretty easy inspector. And of course I go with the classic.
Yeah, sure. I don't know. I'd probably go novice inspector first, but you know, Momentum Breaker also kind of looks like it could be a possibility here. If I had some of the actual Skyfisher cards already, I would probably consider the Momentum Breaker.
Right now, my 2 black cards are also like, they're not bad cards, but I don't really have a lot of synergy for them. So I don't really value them that highly either. And I would rather get deeper into white.
Mm-hmm. Painter's Studio, probably a good shout out there. That card's excellent, but in a more aggressive version of red than what you've got going on here.
Yep.
Then pick 2. I see that Vesperlark. You love Vesperlark. I hate Vesperlark.
I do love Vesperlark. And I already have a Norn's Inquisitor and a Thraben Inspector.
Mm-hmm. Does look like that cursor went to the Samurai's Katana, though, so we shall see. And then the rest of the red cards. Rabidnal, Kenra Spellspear, not really like perfect for this deck. Zach Fair's fine, but yeah, this has to be Katana, right?
Katana's just that is great. It's a pivot card, right? It lets you, I mentioned earlier about having some proactive draws, and it does really well with that. It lets you scale up your cheap creatures because you're playing a ton of them. It's an artifact for my artifact and Builder's Talent and all that. It just incredible card.
If you're, maybe we should mention this. This is draftmancer.com. If you're wondering what those little numbers are on the cards in the pack, that's like the automated bot trying to guess like how much synergy the card has with your deck. So your 0.3 Samurai's Katana, which is probably the obvious pick. It really wants you to take Dragonfly Pilot here. That's a 4.5.
I will say, to its credit, while I only have it on for amusement, I do think Dragonfly Pilot's probably the second best card in this pack for my deck.
Yeah, Dragonfly Pilot's great. Glasswing Grace, a card that people value very, very highly, even if you're only touching one of the colors. Yep. No love for that percussionist there.
Nope, I just immediately slam Glasswing Grace. Card's great. If you don't, you should draft that card very highly. It is the best of the MDFCs.
Yeah. It's a tapped plains or a tapped. So like if you're only one of the colors, it's a tapped plains or tapped swamp that sometimes will like chunk your opponent for like 8 damage out of nowhere. And if you're playing both the colors, you probably shouldn't pass it for pretty much anything that's not like one of the premium gold cards.
Yeah, and one thing to keep in mind, we know we're playing white, so it's a tapped plains, but we could be playing black. We're not 100% sure yet. Probably playing red, given the cards we have, but it is, outside shot that we're still playing black at this point. I might have locked in mentally when I got the Katana, though, to be honest.
There's also, percussionist is kind of whatever in general, and then Mystic Monastery as a red-white land. Like you do want to pick up some red-white lands. You've passed one in pack 1 here.
If you don't have sack synergies or combat tricks, I'm not really a fan of percussionist. Like it looks like the kind of card that might be good for this kind of deck because it's like a 2-for-1 that's an artifact, but it doesn't do the other thing that all of these cards do, which is like be really good at grinding. You can like block with it, but like Darcy, for example, if it sits in play, is obviously going to draw you a bunch of virtual cards and then start like killing your opponent. And that's about the only bad defensive card I think I end up wanting to put in most of these decks. Anyways, this pack's really easy. Mexico's this is a card you take out a lot. This is something that you should be ready and willing to remove this card when you're playing against aggressive opponents, but also anytime you're against a mid-range or control opponent, Mexico's will just like randomly do 8 damage to their face sometimes. So
yeah, Michiko's plus Builder's Talent is a deck, and the fun thing about it is it's kind of like optimized in blue-white. That was kind of our intentions of putting it in here, but you can make it happen in Boros. And honestly, like every color except maybe green-white can like put together some sort of artifact style build to like maximize those cards. And if you get one, you usually end up getting the other. I found that the Builder's Talent decks are one of my favorite things to do. It can almost be oppressive sometimes, but you got to get underneath them, and then they can be quite powerful. This pack's got a lot of tools in it. I'm immediately looking at spring-loaded Saw Blades, just because you don't have a lot of removal right now. Cheap artifact. Containment Construct looks like it's off base here. Makeshift Munitions is not really what you like, the payoff you want for playing a bunch of artifacts. Static Snare here as well, reasonable. A couple other good red cards and Playful Shove, Battlecry Goblin. So I'm gonna guess this ends up being a spring-loaded Saw Blades as an artifact.
You would be incorrect.
Playful Shove. Okay, Playful Shove is a good card. We sing the praises of the pingers in Peasant Cube. Yeah. They're very good.
I do debate between Spring Loaded and Playful Shove, but I end up going with Playful Shove because I feel like against green or Blood Artist decks, which I think are decks that this deck can be a little soft into, I think Playful Shove tends to be pretty good. It can be a little awkward against green decks, but like when you shoot a dork, you're gonna feel like a king.
Yeah, I mean, I would probably land on Saw Blades here just to up the artifact count, but Playful Shove is a great card that costs you almost nothing to put in your deck.
Well, in retrospect, with the delivery Moogle, I probably should have taken the Saw Blade. I'm willing to acknowledge this is probably like me just getting, like, I think it's close, but I probably should have hedged towards Saw Blades.
Mm-hmm. Saw Blades with Builder's Talent too. One of the last times I played too, that combo came up a lot where you get the instant speed +1 counter as well. Yeah,
and this is a really easy back. There's a pretty good removal spell that also acts as a pretty good protection spell, and not much else for me.
Yep. Again, Pack Beast being an example of an excellent white card that's just not optimized in this version of the deck. Hunter's Talent over there on the left is a top tier card as well. Maybe in the top 5, not like top 10 or something like that.
Yeah.
And then drying up.
So pause this for just a second because I think I ended up going with land. But one thing that I thought about when I actually looked at the footage of this video is I should have given more consideration to Master's Guide mural here off the splash.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking. I don't know if I would actually land on it, but I would consider it here.
Yeah, I think I initially look at Thunderhead Gunner and then decide to go with Sheltering Landscape. Thunderhead Gunner is a surprisingly impactful card, but I will say my deck, as I see later in the draft and I mentioned, is just my deck is mana hungry as I'll get out. I can spend all of my mana on basically every turn of the game. So Thunderhead Gunner is worse when your deck is extremely good at spending mana, and much better when you're looking to kind of cap out at 5 or 6 mana, and that way you can convert extra lands into resources, whereas I want to hit 7, 8, 9 lands. I think Master's Guide Mural, though, is a consideration here. I think Circuit Mender is also a card that I don't really look at very long, and given that I died in round 3 to my opponent's burn damage in game 3, I'm not saying that Circuit Mender would have changed that necessarily, but like if I had gained a little extra life, had that option in my deck, it might have nudged the game in my favor.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I'm not sure where I'd land on this. I do like the land pick just because you don't have any. Notably, one card will come back from this pack. It's not inconceivable for it to be like Gunner or Mural. Probably not Circuit Mender. It's just easy card to take for sideboard. Probably Metallic Rebuke would be the last pick. But yeah, I like the land pick if that's what you end up going with here.
Yeah, we have no fixing at the moment, so I'm not going to say it was wrong, but I think this Master's Guide mural I should have probably spent a little more time thinking about because I just kind of hover it and then move on.
Mm-hmm. Oh, baby boy Heartfire
Hero. All right,
Hero.
So here's where I derail my entire draft to draft Heartfire Hero and completely change decks.
Do you actually? Because there's like...
No.
There's no way. Okay, I was going to say, it's no way it's the correct pick here, but... I mean, basically all of the other...
Tim, I have a Metricos. We got this.
Yeah, all of the other red-white cards are considerations here. Again, I think you want to be a little bit more aggressive for Kamano, but there's the red-white land, Eagles of the North, Scrap Orgma, all very good. And don't get me wrong, to the listener, Heartfire Hero is a very good card, but it's a narrow build around. You have to kind of go in on it early. You know, the Samurai's Katana is not the Valiant enabler that you want. So yeah. Outpost.
We do have the Builder's Talent. The Builder's Talent, I do consider it because of the Metricos and the Builder's Talent. I think about it for a minute.
Kamano looks like it might fit because it's an enchantment, but it's really a little bit off base here. I would take Scrapwork Mutt before I take Kamano, but I also like just more land.
Yeah, I think this was between land and Mutt, and I eventually settle on land. And we get a blessing here and wheel Inspector and just immediately windmill slam it.
Yeah, you got the better Inspector back on the wheel. That's crazy. Stonehaven Pilgrim, I do think, is a powerful card for these decks.
Especially with Builder's Talent and Mexico's Reign of Truth, you can really get it out of hand quite quickly.
Yeah. Spell Spear. I wouldn't want to put Spell Spear in this deck, but I don't know. Mortar Pod.
Well, if you look, actually, like the majority of my cards are actually non-creature spells, so I think about it as a sideboard card to deal with control. However, I eventually come to my senses, and I'll give you one guess of what card I take out of this.
Vesper Lark ends up in this pile. We all know what's going to happen here. Vanille.
I've got like four best hits for it.
You had Fang, and you wheeled Vanille. You didn't want to go for the green-black meld.
So I'm glad I paused myself here because I almost put this card in my pile before stopping and thinking about it. I don't take the monkey. I, again, change my mind. I think about the land for a second, but what I end up going on is Scrabbling Claws, and I'm going to use this as my my soapbox that Scrabbling Claws is a very good sideboard card, and I've become more impressed with it now that I've played it in the last couple of decks. I think the card's just excellent out of the sideboard. There's a lot of matchups that it will completely hose your opponent, and even when it doesn't, a lot of times you can tag something relevant in a lot of matchups and cycle it at some point, particularly in these decks with like Delivery Moogle and with Builder's Talent and all that. It's just a very good card.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I don't think people have really caught on to Scrabbling Claws at all. It kind of looks dorky, like worse Relic of Progenitus or whatever, but I do think people should be playing Scrabbling Claws. Even main deck, you can main deck it if you got.
Yeah, and you notice I get it near the end of the draft, right? It's not a card that I took super highly, so like you don't want to waste a high pick on it, but it is a valuable sideboard card, and I boarded in 2 of my 3 matches, I think.
Mm-hmm. Red-white cards wheeling, but none of them really perfect for the deck. It looks like red-white is open, but like red-white straight up go wide aggro is the open seat here.
And we just don't care about these cards. That being said, if you look, I've got 17 playables already. Like we're pretty good on playables. Mm-hmm. I grabbed I guess I decided the Battlecry Goblin is the better sideboard card. Have no idea if that's actually better than Intrepid Rabbit.
Called it. All right, so you're at a pod that knows what's up. All right, so red-white land right off the bat, and then what do we have here? Dalkovin, Pack Beasts, again, better suited for the go wide Boros deck. Torch the Tower, great removal spell. Return Triumphants. That is not the one that can get back artifacts. And then I'm seeing some mana fix in here with Ash Barrens, Perilous Landscapes. So my gut would tell me just take that Legion Leadership. If not, Torch the Tower stands out. But I do value the MDFCs. You don't actually cast Legion Leadership for the spell part of it that often, but when you do, like, it obviously mattered that you did it because you're doing it. So
yeah, I did it once or twice this draft. In fact, one time I had a really interesting spot where I used it to double my 3/3 Katana in response to my opponent casting the Gingerbread guy, the guy that shrinks your dude, so that I could push through some damage and not have my creature just die on a chump block and kind of just trade Legion Leadership for an adventure. Not the best trade necessarily, but it ends up working out for me because the Katana ended up doing like 9 damage that game.
Mm-hmm. This is not an overall like super powerful pack for just in general. Here's like a Blood Harvester and Insidious Roots. If anyone at the table ended up doing that, Brain Surge can be a pretty powerful draw spell as well.
Yeah, I don't think this pack is terrible. I think the Pack Beast is really exciting if you're in the go wide shell. I think that card's ended up being like pretty terrifying, actually.
Mm-hmm. Is this the one where you lost?
I went with Torch the Tower. I could have swore I went with Legion Leadership. I know it ends up in my deck, so I guess we wheel it.
Yeah, that or you're conflating the 2 Boros decks again. What was that? What did I miss? Glory Heath Links. That's the mount. Go fetch up some plains creature.
Yeah, card's silly.
Fine 2-drop. Good 2-drop. And also really nothing else in that pack. There's maybe the green-white MDFC, but that one's a lot less effective than the black-white one. And then Skyfisher Alert.
Yep.
All right, easy. There's a Zidane here. Zidane is again better suited to a more aggressive Boros deck, but I don't think it's bad. Any consideration for that cat collector there?
I think I'd maybe mention it because we do have a Glory Heath Lynx, and I think we have one other source of life gain. But yeah, Kieran is really good, and it also combos with the Shepherd, and yeah, just very powerful card.
Mm-hmm. Can Delivery Moogle can pick up artifact lands, can't it? Yeah.
Yes, it can.
Interesting.
That being said, I'm still a little removal light, and Torch the Witness is pretty good. It's also great because it makes a game object, makes an artifact for our Mechkos and our builder's talent and all that. I think these are things that when you're drafting, you need to be considering. Torch is already a good card, but if you're looking to grind, like we're a late game deck, so I don't care that it's a little inefficient. And then we're also a deck that really cares about the game object, so it's a very high priority for us.
Combat Thresher would be third behind those other cards here. And what are we looking at here? We've got Teeming, Dragonstorm, Coruscation Mage, Dawning Marshal, then nothing else that's really consideration.
Yeah, so I actually wonder, I might have changed my pick if you asked me after this week, because this week I played Coruscation Mage in my recent Boros deck. And it was very impressive when you were playing a large number of technically non-creatures in your deck. So like when you look at this deck, we have quite a bit of cards that add board presence without playing all that many creatures. So Coruscation Mage ends up triggering a ton and your opponent just gets pinged out pretty hard. Teeming Dragonstorm is a lot of game objects. It's really good as well. I'm just not sure which one I like better because I've played both of them in the last couple of weeks and they've both had their own spots where they're good. But Coruscation Mage was very, very good in the last deck I played it in.
I mean, they're comparable here. Like, yeah, you can pick up Dragonstorm and replay it with or Sunpearl Kieran, but like on 4 mana, they're both putting comparable stats on board. But Coruscation Mage can be cast as a 2-drop and actually starts dealing direct damage to opponents. So I think I do like Mage over Dragonstorm. If I had like one dragon, I'd probably go with Dragonstorm first, but that's not a thing that really comes up that often. Nah, good old Gladiolus over there. Veteran Beast. That's how you know Kieran's isn't in the pod, because Veteran Beastmaster's still in the pack. We always give Selesnya crap for not being a super strong deck, and yet somehow Kieran's is always on green-white.
Yeah, I think it's more just people find it boring than anything. This pack has virtually nothing that matters. Yeah, there's a war effort. I don't think I boarded in, but there's decks I could have conceivably boarded it in against.
Yeah, but you can definitely see how you could have gone down like the red-white go, like the typical kind of Boros route here instead of like what your deck ended up being.
My deck's way more fun though. So
yeah, it's very cool that there are two styles of Boros decks that overlap a little bit, but you know.
I've been trying to work on like kind of a I guess a modern archetype guide for archetype, discussion for this sort of thing. And I would consider this a white mid-range white game object deck rather than a Boros deck. And I think the Boros decks that people typically play would be more in line of a Naya Spectrum or Mardu Spectrum tokens deck. Probably Naya would be the way I would usually define it, because I think the Mardu sort of decks usually end up more in the sack space. And I think those end up looking different despite caring about a few of the same cards.
Yeah, so my eyes shot to Arabella right away, and I love Fear of Burning Alive, but it looks like you're about to take the Fear of Burning Alive here.
Yeah, so I think about Arabella initially as well, but it doesn't block particularly well. It demands that I have a bunch of cards that I don't have access to in order to really be maximized. So because I haven't been going down the route of doing the Boros go wide things, that's just not how I want to play. I'm playing more of a mid-range deck, and we decide that, like, all right, well, if I can make Darcy work, I can probably make Fear work. I can probably hit Delirium by the time I get to 6 mana. We do get to Delirium in one of our matchups, the one matchup we casted in. But I will say I was not as good at making Delirium as I might have hoped to be to want this card in my deck.
Do love me a Call the Mountain Chocobo. Pinnacle Monk is, like, such a free card to add to pretty much any red deck. Even if I guess that's what you're checking there is how many instants and sorcerers you have.
Yes,
but maybe call the Mountain Chocobo ends up being the pick. Looks like you got it highlighted here.
It is. Yeah. It's partly is a try the new card. The sort of the tonk method in gameplay or in drafting. But also I just think it's a good card for my deck. I want to be able to hit all of my land drops for the entire game. It does a double spell trigger for Darcy, gives me a ton of stuff to do. I wanted to give it a shot, and I think it's a really sweet card for this deck that maybe it's not going to see play in as many Boros decks. It was really good in my deck. In as many red decks. Pinnacle Monk's totally fine there, though. We get super lucky. We should not be wheeling this.
No, and that's a sign that, like, nobody's even on, like, a red-white adjacent color pair. Just red-white is super open.
Yeah. And I think this ends up being the list. Maybe we get one more playable here at the end.
Sure. Oh, yeah, I mean... Cat Collector is a card that I have, I would say I've not been impressed with.
I think it is exactly okay.
It is a perfectly fine card, but I've never seen it in play and been like, oh man, they're gonna make a bunch of cats. It just, for whatever reason, doesn't play out that way. We're not like supporting life gain directly or anything like that.
I think if we had some more even incidental support for life gain, where even something like the gain lands, right, would drastically increase that card's playability. And I'm not saying we should do that because we shouldn't, but if you don't support it, it's still a playable card in these kind of game object decks if you want it, but it's not great. It's just okay.
Mm-hmm. So final product here, looks like you actually ended up with some fine fixing. You've got at least 3 lands here. You've got mana fixing, a little bit of removal. You've got kind of a core strategy with Michiko's Builder's Talent, ability to grind into the late game. So I don't know. I'm looking at this, having just walked through the draft. I'm like, I don't know that I'm missing anything here. I feel like I've got all my bases covered. So I would be very happy to run this deck.
Yeah, I was pretty happy with it. It was a super fun deck to play. I just posted the video last night or this morning, whenever, that had the gameplay in it. And it was a ton of fun to play. Pretty much every game we were able to just grind, or pivot and kill people. Like there's, a lot of gameplay with these sort of decks. So I really enjoyed it. Dragon Ray Channeler, if you want to think of it as just Snarling Gorehound in red here, is basically what it was doing. I don't think I ever got to attack with it. It literally was just to surveil a bunch of cards.
Yeah. So, I mean, I would be very happy to run this. I loved seeing like Peasant Cube for such a long time. Boros has basically always been go wide aggro or whatever, and it's cool to see different flavors of that made possible by a lot of the artifact stuff. And Danelius, who's our like Peasant podcast partner for the Jank Tank, I almost said the deep dive, but the Jank Tank podcast, like he's super high on just object creation, artifacts in every color and stuff like that. And that's really what Peasant Cube is coming to fruition with lately, is like all these decks kind of doing permanent based stuff instead of their usual. I mean, they still play, like you can play red white aggro. It's still a thing. You saw that very open in this seats. But there's different options. You don't have to be straight up Boros aggro. And I think that's really cool texture for the color pair.
Yeah, and one of the things that I really like about all of these game objects is it kind of, on paper, sounds like it runs the risk of just being like Muldrifter soup. But I found contextually that's really not how it plays out. The games can be long and grindy to a certain extent, but it does feel like a constant battle in most cases of jockeying for board position rather than two people staring at each other. And I think that's an important distinction. Like if you think about a format like Aether Drift, that's two people staring at each other, building up a board until something happens. Whereas a lot of the other like better formats, I would say like Final Fantasy, I think is one that's more akin to like jockeying for board position and trying to get leverages a little more. From what I've played of it, it's been a little while. But I think there is still a lot of fighting over the board. I think that's the key thing, is that if we were just sitting there and all of our game plan was to constantly just create board stalls until we overpowered our opponent, I don't think I would like this as much, but these decks can be kind of proactive as well. So I like the ability to sort of pivot between matchups based on what you need to be doing. So I'm really enjoying this. I'm hoping Peasant continues to evolve like this, where we get to see more decks that have different shells and different overlapping synergies, as opposed to just like, this is Boros, it goes wide aggro. This is green red, it's Stompy.
Yeah. Like more macro archetypes bleeding across different color pairs than each color pair being like a set thing, which is what you see with Peasant Cube a lot. There'll be like the blue white deck does this, the red white deck does this, the green white deck does this, and cross pollination from a larger scale makes things really fresh. It's like I said, it's just fun to see a red white deck that's doing something that's not specifically, what red white typically does. And that can happen with a lot of color pairs. There are some color pairs that can't really wiggle it right now, just due to, what we have on Arena and how they're designing the color pairs. But a lot of these decks that can take advantage of artifacts in particular get to play a lot of different styles because of that. And it's really cool. It's fun to play. It gives you, a lot of longevity with a cube like ours that's been around for 5 years or something like that. So, very cool draft. To the listener, I'll try to hammer out some of the things like, how to get rid of this bar down here and stuff like that. But if this is something that people want to see more of, especially with the gameplay, not just the draft itself, then let us know. Give us some sort of feedback on it. Let us know if we need to talk less about the draft, more about the draft, whatever. I think the idea is that we would like to get, 2 commentators on a video and just kind of follow somebody through a draft and their matches. So kind of like user submitted content, and then me and you are kind of going in blind, not knowing what's going to happen or, what the picks are and stuff like that. So we talked about it a little bit in the background. It's something that we would like to do more. Not sure how often we're going to be doing it. Teld and I are both varying degrees of busy at different times and stuff like that. So that's kind of the plan, and we would like feedback on how to improve that process, what people would like to see, if they would like to see it at all, and hopefully hear back from everybody. But that's going to go and do it. Teld, thanks for putting together the first one for us here, and we'll review it and see if it's something we want to continue to do.
I had fun with this. I like talking through it, even if I kind of knew it was coming on a lot of these picks.
Yeah, I think you'll have even more fun when it's somebody who's not you drafting, because like they won't take that Mishra's Bobble, and you'll be like, well, they should have taken Mishra's Bobble. But
I know I could get angry about it. See, I'm always going to make the correct pick of taking Mishra's Bobble.
Yeah. Though if we're doing user submitted stuff, we got to be polite. We can't bash the people who are sending us the videos to.
No. See, we'll just blur out their names. We'll just blur out their names, and then we'll trash them.
Sure, that sounds like
we'll try to be respectful. We'll try to be respectful.
All right. So reminder to the listener, thanks as always to listening to our content. You can go ahead and subscribe to this YouTube channel here for more content like this and some draft videos. And we post our podcast here as well. And find us in that Discord down below wherever you're watching this. So thanks to everybody out there. My name's Timothy. This has been Teld as my partner for this, and we will catch you all next time.